One of my viewers, Angie, asked in the comments if I could make a video giving tips on how to be more positive. For a minute I was stumped and thought, if someone who, like me, has always been a glass half empty kind of person, is it even possible to change that? I mean, your personality is formed quite early in childhood. So, isn't the way we think just fixed? Well, that may be true to some extent, but we can have some influence on how we think, and we certainly can stop our propensity towards the negative from making our lives miserable. So in this video, I'm going to give 5 tips to think more positively and stop your negative thinking from causing anxiety and misery. But first, why do we think so negatively? In order to survive as a species, the human brain is tuned to look for bad things. Despite living in a beautiful and bountiful world, we have always had to look out for things that might end our time here. So it can be beneficial to look for the negative. We can also inherit our negative traits from our parents. I remember years ago when I was 18, I told my father I was going to do a walk up a well-known mountain. I thought it would be a very positive and rewarding experience. My father immediately told me that it was a bad idea because some soldiers had died up there recently. More about that later. And the other thing that can make us prone to always focus on the negative is our own negative experiences. Loss can make us fearful of losing others. Bullying can make us negatively interpret or overanalyze everything that someone says to us. So with all these factors making us see only the negatives in life, how can we think and be more positive? Well, here are 5 tips. Tip 1. If you're a glass half empty person, your first thought will always be negative, so just accept it. But you don't have to act on it. If you do act on it, it will give the thought credibility, so your brain will think it's important and keep sending it. It's hard to be positive when your brain keeps repeating negative thoughts to you. So just say to your brain, thanks for the warning, but I disagree. Tip 2. If the negative thought is persistent, challenge it. What evidence is there for it being valid? Let's take the negative thought that my father planted in my head. If I walk up the mountain, I will die. So what's the evidence? It was true that 4 soldiers sadly died after walking up this mountain, but it was part of a grueling selection process to join the British Elite Special Forces Unit, the SAS. They walked 16 miles in 30-degree heat carrying a 22-kilogram backpack and rifle. We were going in the autumn when it's much cooler, didn't have to carry much weight, and had no pressure to pass any sort of test. Tip 3 is seek out positive experiences that prove your negative brain wrong, and don't let your anxiety hold you back. After weighing up the evidence, I decided it was safe to do the mountain walk. After all, we had taken all the necessary safety precautions, but as we approached the top of the mountain, the wind blew our map out of my friend's hand and down the side of the mountain. And to make it worse, a fog descended, so we could not see how to get off the mountain. My negative brain kicked in. My dad was right, we could die up here. We have to turn back. But my friend Julian is the opposite of me. He is truly a glass half full person. We will be fine, he said. Then out of the mist appeared some army cadets who kindly gave us a spare map. So I weighed up the evidence again and agreed to carry on. We were able to find our way off the mountain and carried on to complete a 26-mile walk, something that I was very proud of, and an experience I think made me just a bit more of a positive person. Tip 4 is practice searching for the positive. To change our habits, we have to repeat the good ones regularly. Every day ask yourself what one good thing happened today and what one good thing might happen tomorrow. Set a reminder on your phone or your voice assistant. Tip 5. Use a glass half full buddy. Here is how it works. Tell your partner or family member that whenever they hear you make a glass half empty statement, they ask you to think of a glass half full statement. Now, after a while, this might get annoying, so set a time limit, maybe a week or 2, and tell them that you're not allowed to get angry with them, which I'm sure they'd be happy to remind you. And finally, I want to respond to the last comment that Angie made, because it's important and a common problem for many people struggling with anxiety. She said, interestingly, I'm one of those people who can at times spend too much energy trying to overcome my anxiety. This probably comes from a place of negativity that I will never beat my anxiety. You do have to work to overcome an anxiety disorder, but it is also important to accept who we are. I will never be a glass half full person like my ultra positive friend Julian. My first thought will probably always be negative, but I've learnt not to act on my negative thoughts so they don't negatively affect my life. So set realistic expectations. You will probably never move your positivity from here to here, but a small movement is often enough to live a full and happy life. Us glass half empty people can actually do alright. Take care now.